Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Historic Area Commission. It is Thursday, July 11th, 2024. We can start with each member stating their name.
Layla Hammer, architect.
Cynthia Batty, Commissioner.
Sarah Hayward-Rivas, Commissioner.
Lisa Doe.
Westman, Commissioner.
We have a quorum. We want to start by reviewing minutes. So I did notice one correction right away from the June 13th meeting. So Layla Hamren.
Could you speak up a little bit here, please?
Sure. There's a correction from the June 13th
What page?
meeting. The first page, it says that Layla Hamren and Jeff Bergstrom were absent. They were both present at this meeting.
The June 13th?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
I know we ultimately approved the design, but do we want to have it documented that we questioned the 14-inch, the 14-foot addition on the back? We spent a lot of time discussing that. Do we want that reflected in the minutes? So ultimately, we approved it.
We did, and I think since it's documented in the report, we've
Okay.
documented in the report, I think that we need to correct it here.
Yeah, that was the only correction I had, yeah.
We have a motion to approve these minutes with,
I'll make a motion to
corrections.
approve these minutes with the correction of showing that, Layla and Jeff were here.
Second,
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion. We have the minutes from the work session on June 19th. The only correction I see, so when we discuss adding a list or table showing when and where meetings are held, including the dates when applications and accompanying documents need to be submitted. It says 15 days here, but on the application it's 14 days
Oh,
prior.
What page is that on?
14 business days, right?
No, it doesn't specify 14 business days.
Yeah.
What page is that on?
That's on the first page. So it's the second bullet point under updates to the HAC page. on the
14
city
days.
website.
Okay.
This one has page numbers, Kathy, but the other one didn't. Oh, no, it does. Oh, I'm sorry, it does. They just don't appear on the first page
Right.
because your first page is different. Okay, I got it. Sorry. what other people?
All in favor? Aye. Motion approved. Is anyone present for the application for 515 Delaware Street?
Oh, that's me.
If you wouldn't mind, I believe there should be a sign-in sheet, if you wouldn't mind just signing there for us, please. And you're welcome to sit back down, you don't have to
Okay.
stand there the entire time. Could you please tell us a little bit about your application, about your projects?
The project is, well, started out and then it turned bigger because the house is falling down. So, the things that I were able to do immediately was the stairs and the rest of the things that are falling apart. The other things, that are,
So you're talking about the repairs to the front porch?
so that was that. And then there's, some items I'd like to do. The trellis on the porch. On either side of the porch. And a gate.
Where is the gate going?
The gate is going right in front. Right now I have a metal ugly, because I have dogs.
Okay.
And I'll show you. This is people got some pictures, but these have, you can see better. It'll look like that.
Okay,
Okay.
Why don't you, for the rest of the group, because I know what you're talking about, why don't you explain exactly where it's going, because that is not clear from
she's
this.
showing a picture of exactly where it's.
All
Right
right,
there.
okay, fine, yeah.
Yeah. And then on either side, let me show you, because you can, I can see, I understand why it's little, because there's two sides, obviously, and then there's the front, and it's nothing that's going in the front. But the sides will have this, little.
So you want
trellis.
this trellis on either side here,
On either
like
side.
right here.
Yes, it's,
Okay.
yes, and, let me show you one more thing. That can maybe let you see better. Or not. This is like the side, and it's open right there, and open here, and open on the sides. So there's a lot of air and wind. Okay. It's made of wood. I didn't use the kind that use all the little shaky ones. It's an oak. And it's a little thicker.
And it looks like you also have a bird feeder.
It's just a bird feeder. wanted to make sure I got all the permits that I needed to get.
Where would the bird feeder be going?
At the side of my house. Not in the front, not where behind the house. It's on the house, not the porch,
Okay.
not near the porch. It'll be behind in the right side. And it's wood too.
On the right side of the porch.
On the right side of the porch, right? As you look at it.
Just to get a better idea, I'm just gonna
Mhm.
look at Google. I mean, I walked past, but it's hard to.
Yeah, I was picturing it going on the left side, honestly, because there's more yard on this.
when it comes to hacks, because the trellises on either side really, I mean, they've been done elsewhere, but they do change kind of the volume. and
Thank you,
it should
thank
be
you
a
very
tier
much.
one.
I had him come and so I can show you the wood. This is the wood that we don't use. And this is the wood we do use. Nice, it's gonna say, it's gonna be really. I showed you, didn't I? And yeah, it's not this one. It's not gonna file, around, it's gonna be.
So is the bird feeder is it going to be mounted in, the brick portion?
No, it's
The sidewalk?
not the sidewalk. No, it's beyond that.
Okay.
Like, for instance, let me see. Okay.
So, or maybe here, would it be behind this?
Yes,
Okay,
behind that.
okay, so like right behind it?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's saying right behind.
Behind.
Okay, I think you understand.
I actually went and walked around it and looked at it, so. I would note that there's already work being done on the house, which involves trellis-like imagery. So, there's a panel to hide the trash cans, which has a, square trellis, not yet painted. I'm sure you plan to paint that.
Absolutely. That's been there, it's actually been there for a few years, but yes, we will be painting that.
And then underneath the porch, there's also diagonal trellis, which you see frequently in
Oh,
the city.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you saw it.
Yeah.
I have a picture of it, because it just went in today. And there's on the front and on each side.
Okay.
Yes.
Inside.
Yeah.
So there's already a texture. That's the point that I wanted you all to be conscious of. There's already a texture going on there.
Do you have any comments to add, Leila?
No, I mean, typically, all the materials are good. Although not everybody sees trellises on wood porches like around Newcastle, but they're not something to be atypical for the period or during that time, so that is something that I deem to be appropriate, particularly since it's gonna be wood. It was just because it's changing that profile that this should be a hack versus a tier one.
And,
The gate profile is a little bit
Clunky,
heavier
yeah.
than other areas, so that was the one question about, does the gate need to be necessarily that heavy with those posts? And, a slimmer profile might be a bit of a better idea. the way it
What
stands
kind
out.
of, what, say again.
Just a slimmer profile, because the picture looks fairly, and I don't know if that's the one that you're purchasing exactly like that one, or if you have dimensions.
I have dimensions, you think it's a little bit too, I certainly can, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, scale it down so it kind of works
Yeah.
with the scale of the building, and that, if
Like the
everybody
two-
agrees.
Yeah, let's talk about that,
Yeah.
because I think, I see what you're saying, are you saying, are you saying this part's too heavy?
Yeah.
I do too,
And
I agree with you.
And you have an issue of scale because you have that so
I
heavy,
just-
so it makes
I
the
just
inside make even smaller
I-
and then all the other elements.
Right,
So yeah,
right, what I was doing, I just actually,
you cropped it in.
I
as a-
did, yes.
as a line of the
so it
Photoshop.
sort of looks like that, but it'll be, yes,
I
I
think-
can make that, I agree.
Yeah, small, and you'd probably be served by something that's actually even just simpler because you have all the record, you're gonna have that. You
Well,
maybe
that's
don't
all
need that.
done, did you see
No, no,
that?
I didn't mean that. I
Oh.
mean the wood. You have
Mhm.
the wood, you have that trellis, you're
Mhm.
gonna have the trellis, so
Right.
probably with the X and the curve, everything else is very rectilinear, so you might
Mhm.
wanna have just a simpler design. Yeah.
Okay, my guy will love that.
They also do.
Yeah, he will be happy.
That, as long as we agree that I can review that and approve it as a tier one,
Mhm.
she can submit an addendum to the application, and then that can be reviewed administratively by you send it to Marika, Marika sends it to me, and we review it with Jeff and you. It's
What do I
okay.
have to do?
Redo the design
Of the,
of the gate.
okay, sure.
And
Ever
then
send it to Marika.
Yeah, send it
Yeah.
to Marika. If you want to send a sketch before, we can just take a quick look at it. And they can reach out to me, and then we should be able to do that as a tier one. So it'll get reviewed like this, like the rest of the stuff that you got okay.
Absolutely. So, Leila, when
looking at the design guidelines and it says new porch trim
Mhm,
should replicate the original trim in materials and design.
mhm.
This isn't really a trim, so this is why the lattice work would be okay.
Yes,
Okay.
and because it's like, it's a different piece. Now lattice work has been put before just to kind of shield, and it has been this kind of lattice work. And sometimes typically it tends to be sort of more like, or, 90 degrees, but since this is kind of concurrent with what's going on the bottom, that's not an issue.
And I think to reiterate, and this is more just a general statement, but because this is in alignment with the, we consider things on a case by case basis because we have many different architectural styles in the city within the historic district. Because this aligns with the period of significance of the house.
Correct.
That's why this is appropriate for this
Mhm.
specific house.
Yeah.
So, if we were looking at a federal or a Georgian style.
It would be different.
That would
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
be an appropriate addition. So,
I was just gonna add to that, Tara, just since we're talking about the gate, when you're doing, because this is a stock photo, the one that you put in.
Yes,
When he's going to sketch out the trellis,
I don't know if he's gonna,
or if he's on site, just
yeah,
let's just talk, because this fits within two very massive, and this is a
Yeah.
column that's a bit lighter. And if he's a day on site and I can just come and we could just talk and have a
Okay.
good idea, then you won't have somebody having buyer's remorse saying, wait, it's looking much more
Okay.
massive. So we
I'd
can do
like for
that
you to see it. Okay,
before he installs it, when he's talking about it,
before what?
before he installs it,
Okay,
so we can talk about it. Yeah.
yes, of course.
I would love to see it
Avoid
completed too.
tears later.
Oh, please. So far it's been crazy.
I'll be like, we want to make sure everybody's on the same page before we move ahead with things. So we, to specify, so you need to resubmit a design of the gate, where it's less bulky, so
A more appropriate design with thinner posts and thinner rails. Or rectilinear to match the rest of the porch.
Yeah, I think when you look at that picture,
Mhm.
I think that these are not just the size of these are good. I think on the inside.
Yeah,
Because they're the like square ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's right, but I think you're right about this.
it kind of
And
goes
this
over
in here. It does, it really does. So I can make it very
Yeah, because you almost
simple.
want your gate to look like an extension of the railing. Just with a couple more posts, so,
Okay.
and because here we almost lose the gate for the posts. Because we
Mhm.
scaled
I
it.
got it, I agree. I agree. Thank you.
and then just a site visit to talk about,
The
the
detail, the attachment of the
proportions and the
trellis,
details of,
the trellis.
okay.
Now, how do I get to you after I get,
I can give you my card.
okay,
I have some here with me. And you can just email me and we can set up at least an appointment and then
okay.
see if I have some. Ooh. Speak too much.
Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions?
I just have a question. Are you planning to attach the trellis to the house and then to the pillar? Or is it gonna be
No.
freestanding?
No, and in this, if you look here. Oh, look at the sun shining here. Okay, so that's air, this
Yeah.
is air, and
These
between-
posts will be in here.
they'll be inside.
Inside,
There's-
okay, good. All right,
Mhm.
yeah, that's fine. That's all I was asking.
Okay.
Thank you. Do we need a motion?
We just need to ask, are there any comments from the public about this application? Gonna take that silence as a no.
So again, so on to what that Cynthia just asked. So it is or is not gonna be attached to the pillars, the lattice work?
It's not attached to the pillars and the house, here, I can show
It's
you.
attached to the ceiling and the railing. Yeah.
So above and below.
Okay.
Side to side.
Yeah, I can see, I just
We don't
made
know
a
regular
picture of
ones.
this, and here you can
That's
see
good.
that there's air up here, this is just like a square. And then
That's
there's,
neat.
I think it's 8 inches. Close, there's 8 inches there, 8 inches there. And then it's an actual it's a 4x4,
Square.
just a square with a pretty little oval. Okay,
Attached above and below.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, the clarification I was looking at is where, it also says that lattice work should be framed. So I just wanna
It
make
is.
sure, and it looks like it is.
Oh, yes, it's going to be beautiful. And I'm actually making it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Well
Yes,
done.
I am in industry, I'm kind of in your area, but I don't do it exactly like you, but I've done a lot of that kind of thing for my whole life.
That's great.
And I'm picky,
That's important.
very picky.
So I would like, if there's no other comments or concerns. I'd like to put forth a motion, for this to be approved as a tier 1, based on, the addendum to the application, which would include, a design of the gate with thinner posts and rails, that is more rectilinear to match the rest of the porch. A site visit to discuss, the details of the trellis. Anything else about that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approved.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much.
So moving on to the next item, we have 37 and 39 West Third Street. We can't actually review this application today. And we can't review it because it is not complete. And we didn't get the materials in time. However,
What materials do you need?
so that's what we can do is we can tell you what materials we need and
I'm on the agenda and I think that it's, listen to this and take a vote on it. I don't
we can't
understand.
take a vote on it. So I asked to have this removed from the agenda. Only applications that are complete, that is the policy that was set.
Is this an application? This is not an application. It's not a new application. I've completed my application a year and a half ago.
You did complete an application a year and a half ago, but you are applying for changes to something that was approved and we need materials from you to see what those changes are. The policy is that regardless of whether it's a new application or you're submitting an application for a change, we still need to have a complete application submitted 14 days before the meeting for it to be included on the agenda. The application as submitted should not have been included on this agenda. The only thing that we can consider now, or we can't consider anything now, but the only thing we can do is tell you what items are missing and they need to be submitted by July 25th to be included on the next month's agenda.
Why don't you let Leila explain what exactly is needed, because that seems to have been the slip in all this process.
Well, I mean,
Leo doesn't talk to me. I've sent emails to me. I cleared these changes with.
Deb, can we have your attention fully on this?
So
please?
Jeff can't
Because you're
clear these
involved in
changes.
this.
Well,
He showed me a book the other day, the city ordinance, where it said you
Let-
can make tier 1 approvals in these types of changes. He
Let-
showed it to me in writing.
I think let's just say with with just elements that are
Excuse me,
factual.
I don't even know you, but I'm just a little frustrated because this has been going on for several months and no one seems to want to resolve it and it's really getting to a critical stage. You're an architect, you're familiar with construction. And you've been familiar with the change of these windows for many months now. And I don't know why,
The
if
change.
there's a problem, I wasn't notified of it before.
So let's break down between what can come from HAC and what I do, what comes from the city, what the other processes. And because you're saying you're not hearing and haven't followed up, let's just clear that just for the record, then we move to everything so we can have, obviously a path forward. We had reviewed as a tier 1. During the tier 1, as part of the review, you had raised the point that potentially you might want to have issues after you had done, the flood study. And I had said, should there be any issues of revision, then that should come back and we could review it and have a conversation.
Excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt. I remember that. That was
Yes.
specifically talking about the height of the building.
The height and the massing and
You
the
told me you
scale.
were approving 25 feet, and I thought.
We were
plan that
approving the
showed
concept, excuse me, let me just
Well-
finish, because this way we're clear, and this is just informational, it's not confrontational.
Well, the height hasn't changed anyway. I mean,
The
whatever's on
concept
the-
plans were approved in terms of design, shape, dimensions, and materials. It's not just the ridge, it's everything else. But also was said, should there be any changes because of the floodplain, then it comes back and it gets revisited. And I even expressed my appreciation, that the scale had been reduced. Where we are now, this is an application,
Well,
so let's
I don't
finish
mean
the
to interrupt, but
application.
You're just stating,
Yeah, no, go ahead.
okay, I'm not applying for a.
You're applying for
variance on height.
modification.
The height is exactly what you approved.
You
and
are
What the plan.
the
showed.
ridge. Correct, the
The
ridge,
height of the building.
the
That's
ridge.
shown.
Yes, but the design, which is the openings, the elevations, the scale and everything else,
The windows.
the scale and the
Why do you say
dimensions,
scale? I mean,
because
that's
I'm being
it.
precise, because
Well,
drawings mean okay,
Well,
let's,
I haven't changed it.
so then, let's just take things one by one as they come. Today, the agenda, the conversation. I have not seen the permit drawings, and I'm not questioning the permit drawings because the city, there's a process in place. I can only speak to the construction that I observed. And we were asked to have, you said you're gonna come to ask for a modification for the windows, going with 2 windows versus 3 windows, changing details at the doors. I said, okay, I need a revised drawing that shows that with dimensions. We got some drawings. I said, there's no scale, no dimensions. We don't really know what the changes are, and they're not next to what was there before, at least was approved by HAC. So then we were waiting that. Then July 1st, last Monday, I was in Newcastle for another meeting. I then stopped by the office of Jeff Bergstrom to look at items that he had there, which were bollards from the trustee. And then you called Jeff. And at that point, Jeff said, oh, Layla is in the room. And I said, yes. And he said, I'll put her on. And I put it on speakerphone. And both of us talked about, what do you need? And I said, I would need a drawing that is to scale, that represents existing conditions, since this is already built, so we can compare what was approved. And you said, oh, can I just mark up? And then you said the drawing is not to scale. Oops, I realized the drawing is not to scale. And it was my understanding in conversations that your architect had serious health issues, had not been able to provide that. And I said, we cannot annotate a drawing that's not to scale because it cannot be reviewed by HAC members to really try to visualize. And you said, so I should do that. I said, yes, if you can get drawings made to scale. And this was July 1st.
And you did, he got that done.
The drawings
They
that
are to scale.
they're annotated, but they are not to scale. And we got last week, and I literally played with different, and they literally show only the spacing of the windows. They don't show any differences of where they're located, height. There are no dimensions on it.
Well,
So-
excuse me, did the original plan show that? I mean, why do you need information now that you didn't have on
Okay.
the original plan that you
I need
approved?
that. This is very simple. We're not, and I don't know, we're not discussing the application, so that's why I do not necessarily want to distribute material. This is what we reviewed at HAC. This is what was approved. This was a drawing that was submitted at a 1/4 inch scale to scale. And I did this by pulling it out and saying, this is the scale that we had. And I did thus, the alignments which were shown on the drawing that was to scale, it showed this building, it showed the new building, it showed the cut through the street. It showed these lines of relation, and I'm not distributing because we're not talking about the application. I'm just explaining where I needed a modification. So we had these drawings that seemed to align in this way horizontally, because if you look at the guidelines there, and that's why I didn't bring the memo, because we're not supposed to be talking about this outside of what you need to provide. They seemed to be discrepancy between alignments, not just separation 3 versus 2 in terms of bays, but also alignments. That is how the sills align, how the top of the windows align. So if this is a drawing, this drawing is not just one dimension written here. This drawing is said to be a drawing at a 1/4 inch scale. So when this drawing design and massing was approved, whatever the interpretation, whatever follow-up there is, this drawing, the thing that wasn't approved was not just, oh, this top is supposed to be a 25'4". It was approved based on a drawing that showed this type of slope at the street, this type of relationship between the two buildings. So I needed drawings to scale showing what was built, so I could put them next to the building provided to scale about what's existing and make a comparison. I am not prejudging the result of the comparison. I just need those graphics to be able to provide them. When you've had other projects that have come for new constructions, for inserts, they don't all have dimensions, but they have a scale. And I brought examples of those. And the scale of the drawing means that if I measure off this drawing because it is to scale, I can extract the dimension. Now, the drawings that you gave, because we're not discussing that, I actually used different scales to see how they compared. But I don't have any differentials of what could explain the discrepancies that I'm seeing between what's visible.
Can I ask the committee members, do you need more interest? Did you understand what I gave you?
We understand what she's asking.
We
Yeah.
understand what she's asking.
And it's frustrating to us that it was approved with 3 windows across and it was changed and built with 2 without speaking to anybody.
I do want to know.
Well, I would never have done that, taken that risk. I did speak to Mr.
Well, I would
Preston.
like to note that, that when this was approved, and I'm looking at the meeting minutes from February 9th, 2023, when the concept was approved and moving forward for a tier 1 recommendation, as long as the architectural drawings match the concept and plan in terms of design, shape, scale, dimensions, and materials. And if anything changes, the application would have to come back for the commission for review. I think that's all very clear. This is what.
You're reading from what she said that night?
I am not reading this. This is
The minutes.
these are the minutes.
That's what I'm saying.
This is not Layla, this is the commission. This is what the
Okay,
commission
that's
voted.
just what I'm asking, where that came from. Okay. I
Yeah,
can't
these
remember.
this is a matter of public record and it's available online, yes.
And
Just to be clear, the reason Mr. Diascanis is here is he made a change to those drawings in the first
Yes.
place and switched, lost the transom, lost the one window on each bay. He lost the bay on each side. And then he's proposing, he put a brick ledge on, he's proposing to put brick on the front of the building. That's why he's here.
But how
As
did
far
the
as I'm
design get
concerned, no
changed?
other reason.
How did the design get changed that didn't come back before half when it was explicit? in
He
the
just built it
minutes?
that way. He certainly didn't get any permission from anyone to switch to 2 windows. He just did it. And I sent him back here for you guys to look at.
Well, but that's the thing, is that we don't have the materials that we need. So in one of the things, again, changing from brick to from clapper to the brick veneer, we didn't have any specs for that. So there's just.
And
I
so
absolutely understand.
Yeah.
That's
so-
why he's here.
And-
Because I can't make Rocky do any particular thing at all. So he's back here and you're gonna tell him what he needs to do to get you to approve it, right?
And a scaled drawing of what's been built, which is literally, it's been built, it can be measured and scaled, and it's an elevation, it's a modified elevation to scale and dimension.
Yeah,
But
I've
I-
been here before. It's just been a little bit more informal in the past. I remember telling him that 4 years ago when I received approval for 46 West Third Street across the street. At the very end of the meeting, I said, you know, we always put brick on the front of the home. This one was showing wood. I said, would it be okay if I haven't made a decision yet, but if when the time comes, I put brick on there, and I know it's the Glengarry 52 DD, and I was told that would be very welcome. You could do that at any time. And it just sounded like so informal that Jeff could just approve it. Because it's not something you would have turned down if I had submitted it initially anyway.
I can't say that because we have to make judgments as a group, as a commission, based on the materials, based on the guidelines.
But I wasn't told that at that time.
Oh,
That's why
well,
I'm
this-
saying it was kind of a little more informal.
These
in the
Are we
guidelines
past.
talking about about the other property across the street?
These
Yeah.
guidelines have been in effect since they were adopted in 2016. They are available on the city website. They are available in the city office, at, I believe, the library.
But
Well, it's not
also,
just the guidelines.
Well, it's also-
a manner of,
Yeah.
when you go through construction, and I'm just using that as an example because that was going to be a change. And no one said at that time, you have to come back and apply.
Actually, what she just read to you said, if you change anything, you have to come back. That's what the
I'm
minutes of the
talking
meeting
about
say.
4 years ago.
well,
Yeah.
4 years ago,
4 years ago.
it
I'm just
said,
trying to explain where I'm coming from.
Of course.
I'm not being arrogant and just changing the plans and doing whatever I want to
but
do.
4 years
I felt
ago,
like I was working within the
Four-
format that, you know,
4 years
we had been
ago,
using before that.
the minutes said, the end of the motion was, and this was September 10th, 2020, that a motion to approve wood siding on the front and sides of the structure was made, seconded, and unanimously approved. In response to a question from the applicant, which was posed when the whole commission was here, Ms. Hammerman stated that if the applicant wanted to use brick on the front of the house, it would be a tier 1, which means it would have to come back for a tier 1 review, and that was noted in the minutes, particularly since the building adjacent has a small, short building which has brick on it. So it was done in that context, and it was said in the minutes, and it was said it would have to come back as a tier 1, which means have to be
Which
reviewed.
means, that's my next question. What is a tier 1 approval? Because that has been kind of confusion on this also.
The reason that you're back here is that I consider this to be a tier 2 approval to change the fenestration on the front of the building and the front veneer. Tier 1 approval is a decision made by the city to permit
It's a staff review.
Yeah.
a staff
Staff
review. And
I'm gonna come back for everything. I mean, those windows have been in a long time, and I would think someone would have said something to me if it was unacceptable. I thought,
I told you not
I
to
made you
complete the
aware of
front of the
doing it. I
house.
was going to do it.
You'll never get a CO until you get the windows straight or get these guys to
Well, you
approve.
just said, yeah, you just said that last week.
Well,
So
no, Repeat it.
Mr. Daskins, I just want to clarify here that we're telling you what we have to go on. We want people to come here set up for success. We don't like saying no, but we do have rules that we have to follow. This is not a subjective process. What we really need to get you on your way is an application that is complete, and we need that application completed at the time it is submitted. It is stated on the application, it's stated very clearly on the second page, on the third page of the application, where under the applicant completeness review checklist and acknowledgement, applications must be sufficiently complete at the time of submittal for inclusion on the agenda of the HOC meeting, and complete applications must be submitted up to 14 days before the meeting to be included on the agenda. When we have items that are submitted or documents submitted just a couple days before or the day of, it doesn't give any of us enough time to sufficiently review them.
I understand.
So,
When I get told 3 days before that, then I can't get it in any quicker.
well, it sounds to me like you weren't told 3 days before. It seems like, as Ms. Hammerin has stated, that you were informed a few weeks ago. So what we need are the items that, we just need the items, that Ms. Hamron specified. We need the drawings to scale that show the existing conditions to compare the two designs.
And they must be field measured, so they're as-built conditions, and the drawing has to be to scale with the dimension.
Um,
And I guess I keep coming back to being concerned about how it could change so dramatically on the front without it coming back to the Historic Area Commission.
Well, I guess my thinking is that I've built houses with this window pattern before. Sometimes there are 5, sometimes there are only 3.
But the one that was approved had 3 on either
Well, I
side.
understand that, but my thinking, I guess, was that would not be a problem to get approved. I thought it was a tier 1 approval. I guess Jeff and I got our signals crossed. I thought it was a tier 1 approval, which I thought Jeff could give tier 1 approval. I sent those plans to Jeff back in March. And I just misunderstood, I guess. I thought he could give me tier 1 approval, and he did give me tier 1 approval. And no one said to me, sent me a letter or called and said, your windows are wrong. You know, you better make them like the plan. So I guess I made assumptions.
Then why are you
I made
here?
assumptions that there
If
wasn't a
no one
problem.
told you that, why are you here?
Told me like 10 days ago.
Well, look, at the end of the day, these processes are all documented and each applicant is responsible for, I mean, these are available. This is in the city code. This is the process that council approved. There's nothing we can do about it. I mean, if I don't really think that playing a blame game right now is productive at
I
all.
was just answering your question.
But
I don't want the
I,
impression to be that I just did what I wanted without giving a thought to it. You know, I thought I was following a more informal process that I thought we had used in the past.
so we don't follow an informal process.
Okay, well, I understand that now. I'm just
yeah.
trying to let you know. I know how, I know your position. I'm just trying
Yeah,
to.
we also
explain mine.
have, I mean, this process has, I think, there's been a process like this in place since 1967, I think. I would recommend maybe familiarizing yourself with the design guidelines and standards. There's also a supplemental, there's also some supplemental standards that are meant to accompany the guidelines on page 130 specifically, I think, in the guidelines. It goes over all of the supporting documentation that you need for new construction. And I think once you're a little bit more familiar with that, it makes it easier to answer questions once people have looked at it. It makes it easier for us. It makes it easier for, I think, Jeff and
But
Leila
all
as
of
well.
that is for the initial application.
Oh, no, that's for any
submitted those
changes
all of
as
that.
well.
I have
That was a
question.
concept.
Like
Yeah.
cut sheets on windows, you sent me something
Mhm.
yesterday.
I have a question
that
about the
back?
permit itself. When you got the permit, did the drawing show 3 windows across or 2?
3, 2 to 3. That's why we're here. I'm
So,
here to get permission to change it. Yeah.
but you already did it, which is kind of
Well,
difficult.
again, we had our signals crossed. Yeah, I didn't do it before I talked to him and sent him the changed drawings that was done on March 15th.
I can't speak, because I never saw the permit drawings.
Now, you were questioning the dates on the permit the other day. weren't you?
No, I was just saying, I hadn't seen, I was just referring that the last that I had seen were the hack drawings, which were the ones that you had sent prior, and then some of the markups were like, there was the drawing that I had seen that we'd approved at hack, which was the January 16, which shows the building next to it. I just, when you had sent on the March drawings that were sent, I had not seen your permit drawings. Typically I would, but I had not seen them.
So
Hopefully see you in a month.
well, if you submit the drawings to scale,
If you do as-bills, we can certainly talk through them to make sure that you have what's absolutely ready for next month. As soon as they're ready, send them to Jeff, to Mirka, and copy me, and we'll take a look and make sure. Sort of what I said last Monday, scale drawings of existing conditions. With the, you know, the building next to you, don't have to scale and measure and everything, just the profile is right there. If they're measuring up, they can use the tape
That
and just do
was
it.
pretty much what came in today.
Yeah, except that it still just has general measures. It doesn't have the bill, and it doesn't have anything next to it, and it came in today.
And it came in today. Again, we really need to have, we have these policies for a reason. We need to have complete applications submitted.
Because that's the ones that were sent, Jeff, on the ones that were sent that were not complete, I actually did scale. In review, I sifted all of them through scales, like I took, okay, this dimension for scale, and I saw what that gave me for the windows, and I did that dimension scale, so I'll send that to you for internal conversation.
And I'd just like to note, I mean, one thing in question here is the transom window over the front door. The original drawing showed that, because originally the drawing showed 9-foot ceilings on the first floor. And you asked me to make 8-foot ceilings on the first floor to keep the height of the building down. So that's why I lost the transom. But we kept forgetting to, when we did the new elevation, we forgot to just erase it off.
Yeah, all I remember you mentioned that after the concept that you still hadn't had the final flood study done to know what will be the finished floor level of the first floor. And you remember you'd asked proactively, potentially, could it be 26 feet? And I said, well, let's see when you have the study, we would decide.
That you didn't ask me to take it from 9 feet to 8 feet, and I agree.
No, all I'm saying is during the call, you had actually, you remember you had asked and said, hey, could I potentially increase it to 26 feet? You know,
That
because
was,
the
that was
previous
here,
was.
that was here.
Mhm, yeah. And then, but
Well,
you
yes,
also
I
had, you had
agree.
concerns about the flood, you know, not knowing exactly where the first floor would need to be because you're still doing the numbers on the floodplain and things like that.
Well, we stayed at that, we stayed at the 25. I was asking you if you could approve it for 26. in case
I know, and
you
I
needed
said,
it. I
preferred
stayed at the
not.
25
Mhm.
floor.
I think it's just the scale of what's been built, how it compares, that's all. So we have as-built and we compare.
Okay, the building is exactly the way we proposed it, except for these windows. Nothing else really changed.
I think that's a conversation we can have when we're discussing the application, because we don't want to sort of veer into that territory. If I have any questions about what you have, I'll definitely get them back to you before HAC. So when we come to HAC, there's a consensus on what you're presenting, what we agree, and I'll have a recommendation one way or the other. Because I do want to give an informed recommendation.
We need to do the drawing as soon as ever possible, so that we're not in this place next month, because it's not fair to you and it's not fair to us either, so. The
Yeah, I
sooner you
don't- I
can
don't
get it
think-
to
Yeah, I certainly didn't want
the
to
city
do this.
this better. There's nothing fun about this. Oh, I've sat in your seat, I know, so. Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
I don't want to talk about anything else,
No,
unfortunately.
Which is why I can't distribute anything to anybody.
I'm sorry.
Which is why I cannot distribute anything to the commission.
But I do just want to make a general comment following this. Just, it's really important, I think, that we stick. This has happened a few times where we are presented with materials, you know, the day out. It's not a good look for us. It's not professional. It's not fair to the applicant. And as you said, Cynthia, it's not fair to us because we try to be accommodating. Nobody here wants to be punitive. Nobody here likes to say no. We want applicants to be set up for success. We want to be prepared to review their applications and, you know, make informed decisions. It's why we have these policies in place. It's why we have these dates. And I just want to make sure that collectively we're on the same page. And we are complying with what, we are complying with the policies. So that's the only comment I want to make.
We're all in agreement with that.
Yeah. So, If there is nothing else, there can be, comments from the public on agenda items. Seems like,
I'm not quite understanding the process that you're going through. My name is on here at 28 East Fourth Street, but a line is through it. I don't know what that means. It's not listed on the paper here for replacement of the brick pavement.
That meant typically that it should cost
28
us,
East Fourth Street,
yeah, that it was,
number 11.
it was reviewed as a tier one, asking for additional
I'm sorry?
information. It was reviewed administratively between the city and myself, just asking for more information of what
And it was given,
brick and the condition, yeah. So it just needs to be followed up as a tier one with that information. And it was primarily about the condition and why it was requiring a full replacement of the brick versus a resetting.
so I would like it to match the garden in the back.
So you want the,
I want this brick does not get moss on it, and it also is not slippery.
so what we can do is perhaps have that conversation
And I gave
another
you
time.
the sample of the brick. I brought one up to the
Mhm.
office
Yeah, and
weeks ago.
because yes, there's a sample that's given, and then the idea is like, does it warrant being replaced with new brick versus being reset so that it's not a trip hazard, but reusing the existing bricks? And I think that had also been discussed. Saying the preference when we have bricks that are not damaged and that can be reused, the preference is to remove them, clean them and reset
You know,
them.
all bricks
and
need-
compensate with
need
new bricks.
Adjustment at some period.
Mhm.
of course.
And
Yeah.
I'm one who wants to keep their property looking well.
Yeah, and there was just a question where you were talking about doing the full replacement
Correct.
versus
I'm
some
not gonna
parts
put
of
a
it.
different, a brick that doesn't match and have it stick out. That would be dumb.
Yes, so it's just reusing some of the bricks that you have there is the question.
No, I'm not doing that.
Well, then that's where the question came. And maybe we can just have an offline
Sure.
conversation.
So, before we do that, we actually need, because this is not,
Yeah, this is
not
not,
an
this is not an
agenda item.
agenda item.
We're still in the
we need
public
to-
meeting,
we
yes.
need to end
Why is
this
it not an
meeting.
agenda item?
It is not an agenda item because more information was requested and.
It was-
we
And I
should review
gave,
it.
I gave everything weeks ago, and the office said that the person that they were in
reviewing it.
touch with did not respond. That's not my problem.
That would be me, and it needs to be reviewed in a timely fashion with all the information. And that would be me, yes.
I went up there twice, and twice they didn't respond. This is what the brick looks like.
Okay, but before.
This is-
I'm happy to have this conversation with you once they close the
Yeah.
meeting, just because since it
No,
can't
no,
be
no, no,
confirmed
no.
because
We
it's
can't
crossed
do it
through,
during the
we
meeting.
can't do it
Legally,
during the
we
meeting.
can't. We're precluded
No.
legally for talking.
But I'm happy to discuss with you
But
right
stick
after once
around,
the
we'll
meeting
talk.
is officially concluded. I can talk.
Yeah.
Yes. So,
So this is not even an agenda item.
No, that's why it was
that's-
crossed
that's why
out,
we can't
because
discuss it.
the first response was sent as a tier one.
But the office told me when the meeting was,
Yes,
so that doesn't make sense.
it does because we didn't have all the information we need. We
You
need to
didn't have
end,
the information,
to
you
end the
didn't
meeting.
respond.
we need to end the meeting right now.
Mhm.
And Layla will be happy to discuss this with you after the meeting has adjourned. Are there any further comments from the commissioners?
No.
Motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah.